So guys, after a post that I put out recently about the problems that we're seeing with this recent budget and how it's very anti-entrepreneur, I wanted to spend a little bit of time showing you how actually we could be approaching this from a country point of view that's going to help both small businesses and entrepreneurs, plus also the UK and the tax that the UK government can be able to use on important projects such as the NHS. Now, look, before I start this, I am not in any way, pitching against one party or another. I'm just, from an economic point of view, I just feel that we're going down a stupid road right now, and there is so much opportunity. There's even examples of how this is already being done that we just need to follow and stop making the same mistakes over and over as a nation because we just think that we're too clever. So here's the problem that I see, right? The UK is making themselves incredibly unfavourable for businesses to come here. If you are a large organisation, why would you want to set up your headquarters here? You're going to be paying far more money on national insurance to pay your staff. You're going to be paying far more money on corporation tax. You basically are not incentivised at all to come here, let alone the businesses like, for example, Shell Oil, who are right at the top of our FTSE and massive contributor to the UK tax affairs, who probably will leave the UK as their home base and set up on a different stock exchange because of the volume of taxes that they're having to incur by just even being listed in this country. That is massive amounts of wealth that's going to be lost from the budget that is going to be used to fill up the NHS, etc. And so therefore, what does the government have to do? Put up taxes even more because the corporates are leaving, right? So let me just show you something. Let me show you a model for countries that have done this right. This is the UK versus the Irish GDP per capita growth over the last 25 years. And in green, you've got the Irish, in red, you've got the UK. So UK has been bubbling around pretty low GDP per capita. And then you start to look at the difference with Ireland, and it's had a massive influx to have a huge amount of revenue per capita. That's the amount of money that the country's making per person that lives in the country. It's a huge influx, and it has been brought about by intelligent taxation on large companies that has created inward investment, inward growth, and large organisations coming to it. Let me just show you what that actually looks like. This is their GDP. This is their gross domestic product growth. That's i.e. how much money they make as a country, right? And so look at this. In 2015, it's 25%. So the country's income grew by a quarter in 1 year. That's crazy. You know, 9s, 8s, 5. We would kill for this type of growth in the UK. And the reason why they're able to do that is because they were able to attract businesses like this who then headquartered Facebook, Apple, Google, others like it, who are able to headquarter within Ireland because they put together a very tax efficient way of those businesses doing it. However, everybody goes, well, if you're not going to tax them, then what happens? Well, it's not the case. These buildings have people in it. Employees sit there that are paying income tax. Those employees, they're paying national insurance to be able to pay those employees. Those employees are buying houses. They're investing in the local economy. They're all paying VAT on everything that they buy. There's massive amounts of wealth that comes out from having those businesses and organisations, plus the fact that they're still able to tax them at 12.5%, or they have an innovation grant, admittedly, that takes it down to 6%. That's 6% of billions of pounds of cash that they are able to take. This is Ireland, are able to take from these large organisations who have then headquartered there. And since Brexit, we had this wonderful opportunity to be able to harness the actual tax affairs and bring people in. Remember, they did this, I'll just bring this back, they did this pre-Brexit, right? So this growth started before Brexit. They started to bring these in as a low tax. They are still in the European Union island. So they are still able to achieve these low tax rates for these countries despite being in the EU. So they've housed these large organisations, American organisations. Why did America choose there? One, because of the tax, but two, because of the language. They speak English. Yet in England, we are not able to attract them. Why? Because our tax is too high, and we Brexited. Now, admittedly, with Brexit, that does bring about other opportunities that we can then even go against other European pressures. We can just go really low tax affairs, but we are not achieving anywhere near this type of growth. In fact, this is our GDP chart, and you see it bubbles around about 3 to, every now and again it pops up over 5%, and then it's coming down to below 0% on a lot of these months in terms of our GDP growth. It's appalling compared to Ireland. And in fact, Ireland's GDP per capita is about 100,000, whereas we're about 150 quid per capita. That's terrible, isn't it? So 1,500, whatever it is. It is no good, and we need to do something about it. Now, what Ireland are able to do with this massive influx, they actually have an excess on their budget, whereas we are borrowing money to spend on this new Labour budget. Ireland run an excess. They have more money that they take in from taxation than they spend on their budget. So they run an excess. So what do they do with that excess? Well, they're currently looking at a similar format as Norway. When Norway discovered North Sea oil, remember that, we also did discover that as well, they decided not to go and take all the money and just splurge it all on their country. They actually had an excess that they put into a sovereign wealth fund. So not only are they able to take extra cash and do all the things that they want to in terms of taxation, they had an excess to be able to use as a fund, and that fund then goes buy stocks and shares in other companies, lends money to people like the UK who are going to pay it back, but they can take an interest on that. And that sovereign wealth fund is now one of the largest wealth funds in the world, and every year it's taking more and more interest and more income, and it's growing and growing and growing. So the people of Norway are net wealthy. They have got an excess of income. They've got more money they know what to do with, and it's constantly being invested in growing. So what's Ireland doing with this massive influx of cash that they're getting from these big corporates? They are thinking of using that excess to create their own sovereign wealth fund and then keep that as their rainy day fund, and they're going to keep on growing and making income. And the beauty of a sovereign wealth fund like Norway's is they actually can use the excess interest to be able to go and invest back into the economy, infrastructure projects, building bridges, building roads, building youth clubs. They can build infrastructure projects because they've got the excess cash. Whereas we can't even finish HS2. We're going to go as far as bloody, Crewe. We're not finishing the job because we ain't got no money. And so the higher taxes, the constant trying to rip out the innovation in this country, the inspiration to try and really strive has been totally ripped out. And actually, if we take the lead of people like Ireland, we, with our language and our cultural similarities with a lot of the US side, could actually become the best place in the world for them to house themselves as a very economic-minded, tax-free haven for, not tax-free, but a fair tax system with great population who can help, and also help out the small businesses in the same way. So this is what I think about. So I just thought, it's better to put some ideas across than just constantly rant about stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. Cheers, guys.